hand tugged gently at the corner of his shirt. Liam looked down. Caleb sat on the edge of the hospital bed, his head tilted back to look up at him. Despite the collection of scrapes and bruises marring his features, his face was still arrestingly handsome. But the eyes, once filled with a defiant and mocking light, were now wide and vulnerable, like a fawn lost in the woods. The doctor had explained that Caleb had hit his head, damaging his memory and regressing his cognitive state to that of a 3-year-old. Still, Liam couldn't grasp it. No matter how low his cognitive level, how could he mistake him for his mother? Liam was a man, long hair notwithstanding. He took a deep breath, attempting a gentle correction. He told Caleb he wasn't his mother, he was his brother. Caleb blinked, his expression clouded with confusion as he processed the word. Then, he shook his head with force, his voice trembling with a stubborn, wounded cry of "Mama." His eyes reddened instantly. Liam was speechless. The doctor's instructions echoed in his mind. Caleb was in a fragile state and needed a profound sense of security. He was to go along with him as much as possible, avoiding any form of agitation. It was crucial for his recovery. A muscle in Liam's brow twitched. He still couldn't bring himself to answer to that name. Seeing his hesitation, Caleb reached out, his hand wrapping anxiously around Liam's index finger, giving it a tentative shake. He whispered that he was thirsty. Caleb's hands were large, his fingers long and elegant, hands that were usually either holding a cigarette or clenched into a fist. Now, they clung to him with a heartbreaking dependence, as if Liam were the most important person in the world. Liam stood frozen, fighting the storm of emotions in his chest. He repeated the doctor's advice to himself like a mantra. Follow his lead, avoid any stimulus. He forced a gentle smile, though his voice came out raspy. He promised to get him some water, intentionally emphasizing the word brother to subtly steer him back to reality. It was a mistake. Caleb's lower lip trembled, and a loud wail erupted from him. He cried out, asking if his mama didn't want him anymore. The sheer absurdity of the situation was overwhelming. A man well over 6 feet tall, with jarringly blonde hair, a row of silver hoops in one ear, and a stud in his eyebrow, was clinging to his hand and sobbing like a toddler. Liam surrendered immediately. He hastily soothed him, assuring him that Mama was right there. He fumbled for the cup on the bedside table, carefully guiding the straw to Caleb's lips. Caleb's crying subsided. He drank obediently, his long eyelashes casting shadows on his cheeks like tiny brushes. He looked quiet and almost sweet. When he finished, he rubbed his cheek against the back of Liam's hand in an unconscious gesture of affection and murmured a thank you before lying back down. But his hand never let go of Liam's shirt. He looked up with hopeful eyes and asked if Mama could tell him a bedtime story. Liam was certain that the moment Caleb regained his memory, his first act would be to murder him. After all, Liam was the person he despised most. His nominal brother, but in reality, a thorn in his side. They had never been close. More accurately, Caleb's animosity had always been a one-way street. It was a long story. They were a blended family. Liam's mom and Caleb's dad had been high school sweethearts, torn apart by their families' differing social statuses. Caleb's father was forced into an arranged marriage with a woman from a similar background, Caleb's mother. Their relationship was reportedly loveless. She passed away from an illness when Caleb was very young. Years later, Caleb's father ran into Liam's mom on the street. By then, Liam's own father had been gone for years, the victim of an accident. Caleb's father pursued her relentlessly, reigniting their old flame. Soon after, Liam and his mother moved into their house. In Caleb's eyes, Liam's mother was a conniving homewrecker, and his father was a faithless man who had betrayed his first wife. Liam, by extension, was the freeloading baggage who had come to steal his inheritance. He hated all of them, but with their parents often away, Caleb directed the full force of his resentment onto Liam. Meals Liam cooked would be dumped in the trash. Clean laundry he did would be thrown out. Any gesture of kindness was met with biting sarcasm. The most common phrase he heard from Caleb over the years was to get lost and stop the phony act. He'd once spat that the sight of Liam in his house made him sick. Honestly, Liam didn't mind. He even understood to a degree. So, no matter how much Caleb acted out, Liam never lost his temper. He simply watched, letting him vent. Unable to find a release, Caleb had turned to a life of rebellion and thrill-seeking, which led to him crashing a car during a reckless race on a mountain road. The hospital couldn't reach their parents, who were on a cruise somewhere in the Caribbean with no cell service. The call went to Liam. The doctors said Caleb might return to normal once the bruising in his brain subsided. As the only available guardian, Liam had no choice but to take Caleb back to his small apartment to care for him. Before going home, Liam took Caleb to a department store for some clothes. The rebellious teen who once favored ripped jeans and metal studs now stood transfixed in the kids' section, his eyes wide as he stared at the racks of brightly colored outfits. Swallowing his own sense of the surreal, Liam let Caleb pull him through aisles of t-shirts printed with Paw Patrol and Spider-Man. After careful consideration, Caleb pointed to a shirt with a large dinosaur graphic and announced loudly that he wanted that one. Liam nodded and asked a sales associate if they had it in a suitable size. The employee couldn't hide her curiosity, her eyes darting between them. Liam knew exactly what she would be texting her friends the moment they left. Some wild story about the mother-son roleplay some gay couples were into. He didn't care. Unfortunately, even the largest children's size was comically small on Caleb's nearly 6'3" frame. Caleb looked down at the tiny shirt, then back up at Liam, his lip quivering as his eyes filled with tears. He asked why he was suddenly so big that none of the clothes he liked would fit. Seeing his pitiful expression, a strange softness bloomed in Liam's chest. The words came out before he could stop them. He explained that Caleb had to be big and strong so he could have the power to protect his mama. The tears stopped. Caleb nodded with solemn importance, clenching his large hand into a fist. He declared that he would protect Mama. They ended up finding a few cartoon-themed outfits in the adult section. After a bath back at the apartment, Caleb eagerly changed into a new, clean set of pajamas. It was a fleece onesie with a three-dimensional dinosaur head on the hood and a cute tail trailing behind. Caleb adored it. He ran around the living room before stopping in front of the full-length mirror. He froze, seemingly not recognizing the person in the dinosaur costume. He blinked. The little dinosaur in the mirror blinked back. He raised his hands, spread his fingers, and let out what he thought was a ferocious roar. The reflection copied the move. Then realization dawned. Caleb broke into a grin, revealing two small canines. As he laughed, the hood fell forward. He frowned, pushing the bleached blonde hair out of his eyes, his mouth set in a pout. The hair was ugly, he hated it. He ran over and hugged Liam's waist, starting to whine. He pleaded for Mama to cut it for him. Liam wouldn't dare. Caleb had always been obsessive about his hair. Anyone who touched it faced his wrath. Besides, Liam had zero experience cutting hair. If he messed it up and Caleb regained his senses before it grew back, he'd probably come after him with a kitchen knife. Seeing his hesitation, Caleb deployed his ultimate weapon. He snuggled his head against Liam's chest, then looked up with wide, pleading puppy dog eyes. his voice soft and syrupy as he begged him. It was clear he wouldn't let up. Liam sighed, running a hand through the blonde locks. The texture was softer than he'd imagined. He agreed to try on the condition that Caleb wouldn't cry if it didn't look good. Caleb cheered, shaking his head vigorously to promise he wouldn't. Liam sat him on a stool in the bathroom, a towel draped around his neck. Caleb sat perfectly still, hands placed properly on his knees, eyes shut tight. His long lashes trembled with nervousness as he whispered affirmations to himself about being a good, still boy. Liam picked up the scissors and began to carefully trim. Caleb would occasionally peek with one eye, trying to catch his reflection, but Liam would catch him every time, and he'd quickly shut it again in guilt. Once the last of the clippings were swept away, Liam told him he could look. Caleb jumped up and rushed to the mirror, examining it from every angle. It wasn't a professional cut, and it was a bit uneven, but it had rescued him from the spiky, overstyled look he'd sported before. 3-year-old Caleb was thrilled. He beamed, then spun around and charged at Liam like a dinosaur, wrapping him in another tight hug. He exclaimed how amazing Mama was. He buried his face in Liam's chest, his voice full of joy, professing his love. Of course, the 3-year-old version of Caleb wasn't always obedient. The doctor had stressed the need for a balanced diet, especially vitamin-rich vegetables. Liam took it to heart, preparing a variety of nutritious meals. But Caleb's picky eating habits were identical to his pre-amnesia self. He meticulously picked out every green vegetable, piling them neatly on the side of his plate while muttering that he didn't want the green, weird stuff. Looking at his pouting face, Liam's heart softened, but he couldn't give in. An idea struck him. He looked at Caleb gently, reminding him of his promise to protect his mother. Caleb blinked, unsure where this was going, but nodded emphatically. Liam pointed to the small mountain of broccoli. He explained that Caleb had to eat these little trees to become super strong, like a superhero, strong enough to protect his mama. Caleb eyed the broccoli, then looked at Liam, as if weighing the credibility of this claim. After a moment of hesitation, he speared the smallest floret with his fork and put it in his mouth with the resolve of a martyr. His face immediately contorted. His throat worked for several seconds before he managed a difficult swallow. After, he chugged a large glass of water, his eyes red-rimmed as he shook his head, whining that it tasted bad and he didn't want any more. His pitiful, adorable state made Liam's resolve waver again. But thinking of the doctor's orders, he steeled himself. He had another idea. Taking Caleb's fork, he speared the largest piece of broccoli and began to act. In a deep, villainous voice, he declared himself the great broccoli monster that no child could defeat. He taunted the little dinosaur, doubting he was brave enough to eat him in one bite. As expected, the tactic worked on the blonde-haired boy. Caleb clenched his fists, his face determined. He insisted he wasn't scared and would eat them all. He grabbed Liam's wrist, took the fork, and swallowed the broccoli in one go, chewing haphazardly before gulping it down. He opened his mouth to show Liam, proudly announcing that he had vanquished one. Liam immediately applauded, offering encouragement. He told Caleb he was amazing, even more amazing than Spider-Man. Caleb puffed out his chest with pride. And so it went, with every bite, Liam would praise him. After the last piece was gone, Caleb hugged Liam's waist, his face beaming. He had defeated all the monsters and could now protect his mama. Liam reached out and patted the dinosaur hood on his head, telling him he was the best and that Mama was counting on him. Caleb giggled, then tilted his head up and pointed to his own cheek. He wanted a reward kiss. A kiss was out of the question. Though his mind was 3, his body wasn't. His tall frame, broad shoulders, and the unconscious strength he projected were constant reminders that he was an adult. Moreover, Liam was gay. Kissing him would cross a line. He avoided Caleb's expectant gaze and placed a washed grape in his hand instead, telling him his reward was a grape. Caleb held the grape, staring at Liam with a look of confused hurt, like a puppy doused with cold water. From that day on, the reward kiss became an unobtainable prize in his mind, making him want it even more. When Liam washed dishes, Caleb would stand beside him, clutching a small doll, watching him with hopeful eyes, asking if he could get a kiss for helping. When Liam mopped, Caleb would follow, clumsily mimicking his movements with another mop, then asking for his reward. He even started eating all his vegetables without prompting, then presenting his cheek for a kiss. Caleb was like a shadow, finding any opportunity to be good in an attempt to earn his promised reward. Liam's defenses began to crumble under the daily assault. It pained him to see the disappointment in Caleb's eyes every time he was refused, how he tried so hard to be understanding. Finally, one evening, Caleb, mimicking a cartoon he'd watched, painstakingly watered all the plants on the balcony and folded the dry laundry. He then ran to Liam, his eyes shining, and asked tentatively if he could please have a kiss for being so good. Liam looked at the pure anticipation in his eyes, the words of refusal caught in his throat. The doctor's advice to avoid agitation became his excuse. It was just a peck on the cheek. It was a simple wish from a 3-year-old. What was the harm? He sighed and closed his eyes, his voice a little strained as he agreed. Caleb immediately squeezed his eyes shut, his Adam's apple bobbing with nervousness. Liam leaned in, held his breath, and gave him a quick, light peck on the cheek. It was over in a second, but Liam felt his ears burn. Caleb, however, was oblivious. He opened his eyes, his hand covering the spot Liam had kissed as if to preserve the feeling. He was ecstatic, wiggling with joy on the sofa. Then, as if struck by an idea, he leaped up, cupped Liam's face in his hands, and declared that he wanted to kiss Mama too. Liam's eyes widened, but before he could react, Caleb's soft, warm lips pressed firmly against his own. Not his cheek as he'd expected, but his mouth. Time seemed to stretch infinitely. Liam was acutely aware of the softness of Caleb's lips, the clean, slightly milky scent of him. Caleb even gave a gentle, innocent suckle, making a soft popping sound that was shockingly loud in the quiet room. He pulled back slightly, smacking his lips as if savoring the taste, then looked up and loudly announced his discovery. Mama's mouth was sweet. A wave of heat shot up Liam's spine. He stood frozen, his mind blank. He could feel his face, ears, and neck flushing. His heart hammered against his ribs, threatening to break free. The culprit, however, remained blissfully unaware, still lost in the joy of the kiss. He pressed his luck, asking if they could kiss like that every day if he was good. After that transgressive kiss, it was as if a switch had been flipped in Caleb. He would launch himself at Liam like an eager puppy, hugging his waist and asking for kisses. What little rationality Liam had left forced him to push Caleb away time and time again. He tried distracting him with toys and snacks or telling him firmly that it wasn't allowed. Caleb never threw a tantrum when rejected. His bright eyes would just dim instantly, like stars clouded by dust. Perhaps due to his low spirits, Caleb fell ill a couple of days later. He ran a low fever, his face flushed. Liam gave him medicine and wiped him down with lukewarm water. Caleb was unusually cooperative, his gaze fixed on Liam. That night, his temperature fluctuated. Liam stayed by his bed, giving him sponge baths every hour. In the early morning, his eyelids heavy with sleep. He felt a hot little hand touch his face. He frowned and opened his eyes to see Caleb looking at him through a feverish haze. Caleb's voice was hoarse and nasal. Tears suddenly welled up and streamed down his face. He asked if Mama was tired of him. A pang of guilt seized Liam's heart. He immediately took Caleb's hand, his voice softer and more urgent than he realized. As he reassured him that Mama loved him most of all, Caleb sniffled, asking tentatively why Mama wouldn't kiss him anymore. Liam froze, unsure how to explain. Caleb took his silence as confirmation and began to sob, thick tears rolling down his cheeks. He promised to be good, begging Liam not to dislike him, not to leave him. All the accumulated disappointment and fear burst forth. Caleb cried like a child terrified of being abandoned. Liam's heart ached. He threw all caution to the wind, leaned over and pulled Caleb, blankets and all, into his arms. He patted his back gently, whispering that Mama loved him and would never leave him. He softened his voice, cooing a promise that when Caleb got better, Mama would give him kisses every day. Caleb looked up, his face tear-streaked, and insisted on a pinky promise. Only after Liam agreed did he relax, hugging him back and falling into a deep sleep. Liam felt his elevated temperature and even breathing, closed his eyes, and sighed silently. He was in too deep. This act was becoming far too real. After sleeping with Caleb once, he refused to sleep alone again. The next night, he stood at Liam's bedroom door, clutching his dinosaur plushie, his voice small as he asked if he could sleep with Mama again. Liam took a deep breath, trying to keep his voice calm and firm. He told Caleb he was a big boy and had to sleep by himself. Caleb's eyes immediately reddened. He clutched the dinosaur's tail, mustering the courage to whisper that he had nightmares when he was alone, that he was scared. So Liam relented again. Caleb scampered to the bed, climbed in, and burrowed under the covers, leaving only his fluffy head and a pair of wide, expectant eyes peeking out, urging Liam to hurry. Liam shook his head in resignation and got in beside him. Caleb was not a still sleeper. In the middle of the night, his arm would find its way around Liam's waist. His head would bury itself in the crook of Liam's neck, and his legs would tangle with his, clinging like a koala. It was impossible to push him off. Liam lay rigid, staring at the ceiling until morning. He was awoken by a wet, suckling sensation. His shirt had been pushed up, and a gentle pressure was being applied to a sensitive spot. He looked down to see a blonde head diligently nursing. Caleb mumbled something about it being yummy, a guttural sound of instinctual, urgent feeding. His soft tongue idly flicked across the peak, then teased it again. Liam's sanity snapped. He screamed Caleb's name and shoved him off the bed with all his might. Caleb tumbled to the floor, holding his bruised side with a bewildered expression. Seeing Liam's genuine anger, he started to cry again, tears streaming down his face. He sobbed out an apology, explaining he was just so hungry. Liam turned away, his hands trembling as he straightened his clothes. When he looked back at the tear-stained, handsome face, the scolding words died in his throat. What could he blame him for? He was just a child acting on instinct. His voice was hoarse as he told him there was no milk there, and he was never to do that again. Caleb nodded through his tears, too scared to speak, shrinking on the floor. At that moment, his stomach rumbled loudly. Liam sighed. He told Caleb he would go make him some milk. Without another look at his tear-streaked face, Liam stumbled out of bed, his legs so weak they nearly gave out. The tingling, electric feeling where Caleb had latched on was still seared into his mind, amplified with every passing second. Only the shock of cold water from the sink brought him back to his senses. Caleb's follow-up appointment went well. The doctor reported that the bruising on his brain had almost completely dissipated and his memory could return at any moment. This should have been good news. But Liam's first reaction was not joy, but a jolt of panic. Over these past weeks, he had grown accustomed to being needed, to being trusted so completely. He found himself wishing this absurd dream could last a little longer. He didn't want the spiky, resentful stepbrother to return. After returning from the hospital, Liam started having nightmares. In his dreams, a recovered Caleb would look at him with disgust, his voice dripping with ice as he called Liam pathetic. So, when he woke up one morning to find Caleb staring at him with those same cold eyes, he thought it was just another dream. He wrapped an arm around Caleb's waist, burying his face in his chest. He mumbled for him to be quiet and let him sleep a little longer. A second later, he was kicked out of bed. His back hit the floor with a painful thud. The shock cleared his head instantly. This was not a dream. The Caleb who saw him as an enemy was back. Caleb sat up, the dinosaur onesie looking utterly ridiculous on him now. He looked down at Liam, his brow furrowed, his voice cold. He accused Liam of taking advantage of him while he had amnesia, calling him disgusting. A bitter taste filled Liam's mouth. So all those days and nights of care, the cautious affection, the moments of dependence, in Caleb's clear-headed perception, it was all just Liam taking advantage. He gave a wry smile. Of course, the words were identical to his nightmare. Being around the 3-year-old version for so long, he'd almost forgotten what the real Caleb was like. What had he been hoping for? Seeing Liam motionless on the floor, Caleb snapped at him to stop playing dead and get out. Liam pushed himself up, his body aching. He avoided Caleb's gaze, brushing the dust off his pajamas. When he finally looked up, all emotion was wiped from his face. He looked at Caleb calmly. He informed him that this was his apartment, his room, and his bed. He pointed to the door, his voice steady. The one who needed to get out was Caleb. After Caleb slammed the door, the apartment fell silent. Liam lay in bed for a while until the sun rose. As he went to wash up, he froze. In the bathroom mirror, he saw 2 small pigtails tied in his hair. Caleb had done it the night before, paw on him while saying his hair was like a cloud he had to tie down so it wouldn't float away. He was always playing with it when he was bored. Now, the pigtails were lopsided and comical. He pulled the cartoon hair ties out and threw them into the trash without expression. He reached for his toothbrush and paused again. 2 identical toothbrushes stood side by side. One pink, one light blue, both with a silly dinosaur on the handle. Caleb had insisted on buying the mother-son set. He would even crowd in to brush his teeth with Liam, competing to see who could make more foam. Liam sighed, his gaze sweeping across the room. On the counter was Caleb's strawberry-scented kid's face cream. The lid left ajar, releasing a sweet fragrance. Crooked star stickers were stuck to the edge of the mirror. A cute jellyfish nightlight sat on a shelf. In the living room, children's books, animal puzzles, and all sorts of dinosaur toys were scattered about. In just 1 month, the apartment was filled with his presence. But this stolen warmth was always just a mirage. It took him half an hour to pack all of Caleb's things into a box and shove it into a storage closet. He had turned down a lot of work to care for him. Now, he filled his schedule to the brim, coming home only to collapse into bed. Caleb had sent him a few messages late at night, but all Liam ever saw was the notification that a message had been retracted. His heart would skip a beat. What did he want to say? Apologize? Accuse him? He didn't know and didn't want to think about it. After the 4th retracted message notification, he blocked him. He never expected Caleb to show up. One night, his friend Ryan was drunk and heartbroken, and Liam was half carrying him back to his apartment. As he fumbled with the keypad, a chill ran down his spine. He turned around and froze. Under the motion-activated hall light, Caleb was leaning against the wall, the red ember of a cigarette glowing between his fingers. A few butts littered the floor at his feet. His gaze first landed on Liam's face, a complex and lost expression in his eyes, then slid to the drunken Ryan draped over Liam's arm. Caleb let out a short, sharp laugh. He mocked Liam, asking how long he'd been gone for him to bring someone new home already. Liam steadied Ryan, who was slumping to the side, and his voice turned cold. He asked what it had to do with him. His eyes flicked to the cigarette butts at Caleb's feet as he told him to say what he needed to say. Caleb coughed, his gaze shifting away. He mumbled that he'd had a fight with his old man, got his cards cut off and had nowhere to go. Liam nodded, his tone flat as he asked what that had to do with him. Caleb was clearly taken aback, a flicker of something like hurt in his eyes. The small bit of resolve in Liam's heart crumbled. Cursing his own weakness, he pulled out his phone, unblocked Caleb, and sent him some money. A notification pinged on Caleb's phone. He looked down at the screen but didn't accept the transfer. Instead, he stared at Liam, his tone softening slightly as he said all the nearby hotels were full. Liam almost laughed in frustration. Before he could argue, Ryan started sobbing against his arm, wailing that men were all liars. Then his head lolled to the side, and he was asleep again. The atmosphere was awkward. Tired of arguing, Liam turned and entered his code. As the door was about to swing shut, a large, well-defined hand caught the frame. Caleb didn't speak, just stared at him stubbornly. Faced with those eyes, Liam could never stay firm. He sighed and stepped aside. Just for one night. After settling Ryan in the guest room, Caleb still stood awkwardly at the door. Liam pointed to the leather sofa in the living room and told him not to expect the bed. That was his. Caleb nodded silently but followed him to the kitchen. As Liam opened the fridge for some water, Caleb stood leaning against the doorframe. He muttered that he was hungry. When his memory was gone, Caleb had loved the noodles Liam made. But Liam wasn't in the mood now. He slowly twisted the cap off a bottle of water, drank, and then gestured towards the storage closet with his chin. He told him there were instant noodles in there and he could make them himself. When Liam came out of the shower, the living room lights were still on. Caleb was sitting on the edge of the sofa. On the coffee table was the open box containing all his things. Hearing movement, he looked up, his expression unreadable. Liam, toweling his hair dry, tried to make his voice sound casual. He'd forgotten to throw it out, he explained, and would deal with it tomorrow. Caleb's lips tightened, his Adam's apple bobbing. After a long silence, he suddenly asked if he had been a lot of trouble during that time. Liam's hand stilled. He had asked the doctor, who confirmed it wasn't uncommon. This kind of selective amnesia was a form of self-preservation for the brain. In other words, his brain deemed the memory of being a simpleton too embarrassing and had automatically blocked it. A strange twist of fate, perhaps. But Liam thought it was for the best. His mother had struggled for most of her life and was now happy with Caleb's father. He didn't want to disrupt that. So he and Caleb were destined to be nothing more than brothers. He looked at Caleb, who was still waiting for an answer. He moved his gaze away, trying to keep his voice even as he said it was fine, that he hadn't really had to do much. Caleb started to say something else, but Liam had already turned towards his bedroom. He told him to get some rest. Waking up in the middle of the night, he heard a noise from the living room. He tiptoed over. Caleb was sleeping restlessly, curled into a ball, his brow furrowed. His hair was damp with cold sweat. He was having a nightmare. A muffled, indistinct sound escaped his throat. He looked vulnerable and helpless. Liam saw the 3-year-old version of him again, and his heart clenched. He instinctively leaned down, his hand reaching out to gently pat his back and soothe him, just like he used to. Just as his fingertips were about to touch Caleb's shoulder, Caleb's eyes shot open. In the darkness, their faces were inches apart. Liam could clearly see the lingering fear and confusion in his eyes. Before he could react, Caleb pulled him into a fierce hug, so tight it felt like he was trying to merge their bodies. He murmured for him not to go. Liam's hand froze in midair before finally landing on Caleb's back, patting it reassuringly. He told him it was okay. Caleb seemed to snap back to reality. He immediately let go and scrambled to the other end of the sofa, creating as much distance as possible. His voice was hoarse with sleep as he apologized, hastily rebuilding his cold facade. He explained it was just a nightmare. Liam lowered his eyes, hiding his own emotions, and suggested Caleb take the bed while he took the sofa. Caleb, his breathing evening out, refused, insisting he was fine. The next morning, Caleb had reverted to his cold, hard self. He didn't even nod a good morning, just looked away. Liam shook his head, deciding not to engage. Just then, Ryan emerged from the guest room, rubbing his messy hair. He complained to Liam that his head was killing him and asked his darling Liam to make him some honey water. Same sweetness as always. Before Liam could answer, a cold sneer came from the sofa. Caleb asked who Ryan thought he was ordering around, asking if he didn't have his own hands. Ryan was about to retort, but when he turned and saw Caleb's handsome face, his eyes lit up. He exclaimed that this must be Liam's brother, who was ridiculously hot. He pulled out his phone, grinning as he approached, saying they should exchange numbers. Caleb was silent for a few seconds before exploding, telling the damned gay to get lost, yelling that he was straight. Ryan only got more excited. He stepped closer, saying being straight was no problem, that he loved turning straight guys. Caleb's face darkened, but Ryan continued his spiel, proclaiming that real men dared to go after men. Liam put a hand to his forehead. Ryan's incurable habit of flirting with any attractive human was going to get him killed one day. Caleb's jaw tightened, his knuckles white. Just as a fight seemed imminent, Liam cut Ryan off, telling him to go take a shower so they could eat. Ryan agreed, shooting Caleb a wink and announcing that a real man was going to take a shower. He took a few steps, then asked Liam if he could borrow some clean clothes. Liam was about to agree when Caleb's stiff voice came from behind him. He said no, that Ryan could wear his. Both Liam and Ryan froze. Then Ryan covered his face in mock shyness, cooing about how possessive Caleb was already. Caleb gritted his teeth, a vein pulsing in his temple. Of course, Ryan was just teasing. The thought of wearing a stranger's clothes was repulsive to him. And if he couldn't wear Liam's and he couldn't wear Caleb's, then he'd have to go naked. He was joking, of course. Luckily, Ryan had left a change of clothes from a previous drunken night. But for some reason, after Liam found the clothes and gave them to Ryan, Caleb's expression grew even darker. Liam didn't understand and chose to ignore it. Breakfast was ready just as Ryan came out, humming a tune. He expertly retrieved bowls and utensils from the cabinet, then casually remarked that Liam had changed his body wash. The new strawberry scent wasn't as good as the old one. That was one Caleb had picked out, and there was a lot left, so Liam hadn't thrown it away. Before Liam could explain, Caleb's icy voice cut in, asking why Ryan didn't just go stay at a 5-star hotel if he was so picky. Ryan's movements stilled. He noted that every time he spoke to Liam, Caleb had something to say. His hungover brain finally started working. A look of dawning realization and amusement crossed his face. He asked if Caleb was jealous. Caleb visibly stiffened, then bristled like a cornered cat, his voice rising. He denied it vehemently, insisting he was straight and couldn't possibly be jealous of him. Ryan dragged out his reply, a sly smile on his face. He clarified that he had meant jealous of him. Ryan, not for him, and feigned heartbreak. Caleb's face flushed crimson. Took him a moment before he bit out of that if Ryan didn't shut up, he'd throw him out the window. Ryan, far from being scared, just shook with laughter. After a fierce glare from Caleb, he pretended to be frightened, cowering towards Liam and whining about how mean his brother was. As Caleb looked ready to pounce, Liam quickly intervened, telling them to eat up because they had to go to the amusement park later. Caleb, who had been about to leave, froze. He asked nonchalantly where the park was, claiming he had plans with someone nearby. Liam and Ryan both turned to look at him. Caleb looked away, the tips of his ears red, still insisting it was just on his way. In the end, Caleb tagged along. Ryan's gig was in the afternoon, so they spent the morning hitting all the rides. Caleb followed at a distance. Whenever Liam looked over, he would pretend to be busy, looking at the sky, the ground, anywhere but at him. When they were in line for ice cream, Liam hesitated for a moment before getting one for Caleb too. When he handed it to him, Caleb glanced at it and snorted that only kids eat that stuff. Liam just nodded and said he'd eat it himself then. Before he finished his sentence, Caleb snatched the cone from his hand. He avoided Liam's gaze, took a bite, and mumbled that since it was already bought, they shouldn't waste it. Liam saw the blush on his ears and said nothing. From then on, as if he'd found an excuse, Caleb insisted on paying for everything, claiming he didn't want to owe Liam for the ice cream. Ryan teased him about being so generous. Caleb glared back, retorting that it was none of his business and that it was only natural for him to spend money on his brother. It was the first time Caleb had acknowledged him as his brother. A small ripple of warmth spread through Liam's chest, but he quickly suppressed it. Ryan mercilessly dismantled his excuse, reminding him of his no-money story from the night before. Caleb gritted his teeth and told him to shut up and eat. The two of them bickered all the way. As Liam was sighing, a cute guy approached and asked for his number. Caleb stopped arguing instantly and stepped in front of Liam. He apologized to the guy, stating that Liam was taken. The guy left, disappointed. Ryan leaned in, asking when Liam had gotten a boyfriend. Liam was equally confused by the sudden boundary crossing. He asked Caleb what that was about. Caleb looked away. His tone clipped as he explained he was just saving him from being bothered by weirdos and causing trouble for their parents. Without waiting for a response, he rushed off. When he came back, he was holding an ugly cute stuffed animal. The grand prize from a game that he and Ryan had failed to win after countless attempts. At the time, when Liam had suggested he try, Caleb had called it childish. He couldn't believe Caleb had gone back specifically to win it for him. Ryan nudged his shoulder, saying loudly how thoughtful his little brother was. Caleb's face was beet red. He shoved the toy into Liam's hands, growling that it was ugly and he had to take it, and that he wasn't allowed to be angry anymore. Then he fled again. He didn't know what Ryan said to Caleb, but somehow the prickly hedgehog agreed to take a picture alone with him. Ryan immediately posted it with the caption, "New friend. Intense." Seconds later, his ex-boyfriend called, and they launched into a screaming match. The two of them had a long history of breaking up and getting back together. Liam was used to these scenes. He knew the ex would be on the next flight over to fight in person. a fight that would inevitably end up in bed. So he wisely dragged Caleb away. He stopped in front of the tallest, steepest roller coaster in the state. The sound of terrified screams echoed from above. Caleb visibly tensed. Liam said considerately that if he was scared, he could wait at the bottom or go on a different ride. The comment seemed to step on his tail. Caleb stammered that he wasn't scared, that this kiddie ride was nothing to him. He was terrified. Caleb gripped the safety bar so tightly his knuckles turned white, but his pride kept him silent. The coaster clicked slowly up the steep incline. At the very peak, just before the near-vertical drop, Caleb could no longer pretend. "Mama! Save me!" His scream was deafening. Liam was genuinely shocked that this rebellious, fearless street racer was so afraid of a man-made thrill ride. He kept his eyes squeezed shut, his face pale, and his cries for Mama barely stopped throughout the entire twisting, dropping, upside-down ordeal, eventually turning into choked sobs. When the coaster finally slowed to a stop, the moment the safety bar lifted, Caleb threw himself into Liam's arms, his own arms wrapped around his waist like a vice. His body was trembling uncontrollably as he sobbed that he was so scared. Other passengers stared and snickered. As long as Caleb wasn't embarrassed, Liam was. He flushed and pulled him to a quieter corner, whispering that it was okay and he could stop crying. Caleb didn't speak, just held on tighter. After the Mama incident on the roller coaster, something in Caleb shifted. He was no longer awkward or used sarcasm to hide his feelings. He started showing up constantly, trying to win Liam over. He'd appear at his door with breakfast, show up with sold-out concert tickets Liam had wanted, and pick him up from his studio. It happened so often that Ryan was baffled, asking what had happened to turn his brother into such a clinger. Liam didn't know either. Maybe the roller coaster had jostled some memories loose. But he couldn't let this continue. He needed to have a serious talk with Caleb. One day, Caleb showed up again, using the excuse that he was just passing by, bringing groceries and insisting on cooking dinner. The effort nearly resulted in him setting the kitchen on fire. Liam leaned against the doorframe, watching the tall man in a pink apron struggling with a fish, and finally sighed. He called out Caleb's name. His voice was calm over the roar of the exhaust fan. He asked him what he really wanted. Caleb froze. He turned off the stove and the fan, and the kitchen fell silent. He turned around. His clothes were spattered with fish scales and he was a mess, but his eyes were shining, and his face was flushed. This time he didn't look away. He looked directly at Liam. Liam. His tone was more serious than ever before, almost desperate. "I like you." He paused, as if to make sure every word registered. "I want to be with you." Liam's face remained impassive, but inside, a storm was raging. Images flashed through his mind. Caleb depending on him during his amnesia, awkwardly shoving the stuffed animal at him, crying in his arms after the roller coaster. His heart pounded, blood rushing to his head. The secret, suppressed feelings he'd had for so long were cracking through the surface, fighting to get out. But he couldn't. They were brothers. Agreeing would destroy the family's peace, make everyone uncomfortable, and turn everything into a mess. He forced himself to meet Caleb's intense, stubborn gaze, swallowing past the dryness in his throat. He used all his strength to keep his voice steady and distant. "Caleb, stop messing around. I'm your brother." Caleb frowned, the heat in his eyes undiminished. He argued that it didn't matter, that they weren't related by blood. Liam took a deep breath, his fingernails digging into his palms, the pain a small anchor to his resolve. "But I don't like you. Your feelings are just a burden to me." Despite the blunt rejection, the rebellious blonde did not back down. If anything, he became more persistent. Overwhelmed, Liam asked Ryan to stay over, hoping to use the lack of privacy as an excuse to keep Caleb away. He didn't know how Caleb got his door code, but he walked right in and sat down between Liam and Ryan on the sofa. He offered a fake smile to Ryan, asking if he was over to play with his brother again. Ryan, engrossed in a video game, just raised an eyebrow. Caleb then rudely told him to leave, announcing that our dinner was almost ready, emphasizing the word "our." Ryan laughed. "Caleb, is your skin made of concrete?" "Thanks for the compliment," Caleb replied, shameless. It's a brother's duty to protect his older brother from shady characters. It seemed that in the face of his failed pursuit, Caleb had learned to weaponize their brotherly relationship, leaving Liam speechless every time. During a weekend dinner at their parents' house, Caleb again used the brother excuse to sit next to Liam and lavish him with attention. He piled Liam's plate high with food, then began shelling crabs and peeling shrimp for him, telling him he was too thin and needed to eat more. His father looked at him with surprise, then chuckled. "Well, look at you, taking care of someone for a change. Miracles do happen." Caleb ignored him, scooping more soup into Liam's bowl. Liam shot him a glare, telling him to stop, but Caleb pretended not to see and continued peeling shrimp. His father, seemingly in a good mood, nodded in approval, took a sip of his wine, and then casually mentioned that the daughter of an old friend, a girl named Sarah, had been asking about Liam. He suggested they get dinner sometime. "Not interested." Caleb's reply was sharp and immediate, his head still down. "I like menn." His father froze, assuming it was just an excuse. "Fine. I don't care if you're interested in the dog next door. I'm just asking." Liam, who had been drinking water to hide his anxiety, choked, suddenly being compared to a dog. His mother patted his back while Caleb, dropping the disposable gloves, anxiously asked if he was okay. The mood at the table shifted. His father's amused expression faded, replaced by a deep, searching look that went back and forth between Caleb and Liam. His mother's hand stilled on his back, her face a mask of complex emotions. The rest of the meal passed in a tense silence. After dinner, his father put down his teacup, his voice unreadable. "Caleb, my study. Now." At the same time, his mother took Liam's wrist. "Liam, come look at the flowers on the balcony with me." The night-blooming jasmine was in full bloom. Liam followed his mother to the railing, bracing himself for a lecture. But she just looked at him and sighed, asking if he thought she was going to tell him to stay away from Caleb. Liam looked at her, surprised. Her eyes were soft in the gentle light. She took his hand and told him about her own past, about loving Caleb's father and being forced apart. They were too young then, she said, to fight against their families and the world. But the years they spent apart made for people miserable. She knew then that life wasn't meant to be lived like that. It was your own life to live, your own bitter and sweet moments to taste. Outsiders, even parents, shouldn't interfere too much. She reached out and smoothed his hair, her gaze full of love and conviction. "So what I want to tell you today is this. Don't worry about us. Don't worry about what other people think. Ask your own heart." She paused, her voice even more earnest. "If you truly like Caleb and he truly cares for you, then don't hesitate. I won't interfere. I just want you to be happy." The warm breeze carried the scent of flowers and the warmth of his mother's words. The heavy stone in Liam's heart was gently lifted. He looked at his mother, a lump in his throat, and finally leaned in to hug her, whispering his thanks. Meanwhile, the atmosphere in the study was much different. Caleb's father sat behind his desk, his fingers tapping the wood, his eyes sharp as he stared at Caleb. "Are you serious about your brother?" he asked directly. Caleb stood straight. "Of course. I've never been more serious about anything." His father grunted. "Your brother, he seems easygoing, but he's stubborn. If you dare to mess with him for fun and then hurt him..." He didn't finish, but the in his eyes was clear. Caleb met his gaze without flinching. "I won't, unless I'm dead." His father stared at him for a long moment, the sternness on his face slowly dissolving back into his usual gruff demeanor. He waved a hand. "All right, get out of here. Handle your own business and stop being so clingy. It's annoying to watch." Caleb scoffed, retorting that he was one to talk. His father jumped up, pretending to throw a teacup at him. Caleb dodged out of the room, yelling back, "Don't worry, Dad. We'll be even happier than you two." With their parents' blessing, Liam had a new worry. What if, just what if, he and Caleb didn't work out in the end? How would they interact then? Would it put his mother in an awkward position? The fear made him hesitate. Caleb seemed to understand his concerns without him saying a word. He didn't push, but instead, with his own methods, began to slowly chip away at his hesitation. He remembered all of Liam's preferences, like how he loved spicy food but picked out the actual chili peppers. He'd pick them out for him before he ate. He took the silly bedtime stories Liam had told him about space travel seriously and secretly decorated his study with glow-in-the-dark stars. After Liam mentioned wanting to read a rare, out-of-print book, Caleb scoured every old bookstore in the city, then casually left it on his nightstand. When Liam rubbed his neck one morning, an ergonomic chair and various support cushions appeared that afternoon. And, of course, his specialty was playing the victim. When he sensed Liam was on the verge of giving in, he intentionally got himself soaked in the rain. Then, with his devastatingly handsome face, he'd look at Liam pitifully and complain that his head felt a little dizzy. Liam knew he was faking it, but his hand still went to his forehead, and he found himself resignedly drawing him a hot bath, drying his hair, and forcing a cup of ginger tea down his throat. He was like glue. He stuck to Liam, whining and cuddling. "Liam, just make it official," he'd murmur, his head buried in Liam's neck, his arms around his waist. "Everyone already knows I'm your puppy. You have to take responsibility for me." When Liam finally, reluctantly, nodded his agreement, Caleb pressed his advantage. "Liam, can I sleep with you tonight?" He looked up with those wide, pleading eyes. "Just sleep. I promise I'll behave." It turns out a man's promise is not to be trusted. When they first lay down, "I'll just hold you. I won't move." 1 minute later, "I'll just touch. I won't get hard." 5 minutes later, "I'll just rub. I won't go in." 10 minutes later, "Just the tip. I won't finish." The next morning, Caleb was glowing and satisfied. He told Ryan he was a real man. Liam was exhausted. After they'd been together for a while, Caleb became even more adventurous. Sometimes, during sex, he would call him Mama. It filled Liam with a mixture of shame and fury, and he wanted to strangle him, but he never had the strength. Then Caleb would push further, urging him to call him by his name, Caleb. Just once, he'd plead, his voice husky with lust, asking him to say it gently, like before. Liam bit his lip, refusing to yield. Caleb responded by lowering his head, his fingers exploring deeper. Liam gasped, his nails digging into Caleb's back as his body trembled. Taking this as encouragement, Caleb pressed closer to his ear and whispered Mama again. A tide of shame washed over him. He finally broke, his voice shattered. "See, Caleb, stop." Caleb gave him no chance to escape, his hips sinking down, invading him fully. Liam cried out, a mixture of pain and pleasure, his back arching, only to be pressed harder into the mattress. Caleb moved inside him, a relentless rhythm, every thrust deep and heavy. He struggled uselessly, his wrists pinned. In the chaos, Caleb suddenly leaned down and caught a strand of Liam's long hair between his teeth. A long time ago, he panted, his hot breath against Liam's ear. I thought this hair was so damn sexy. He thrust harder. I used to imagine how good it would look, swinging back and forth when I had you pinned down just like this. His gaze was so raw, Liam's face burned. He stared up at the eyes that were once so full of defiance and mockery. Look at me, Caleb commanded, his pace quickening. Why aren't you telling me how good I am now? Liam's mind blurred with pleasure, able to offer only broken pleas. But Caleb was relentless, asking again and again, his voice a low growl in his ear. You used to praise me so easily. I was good at eating, good at sleeping. What about now? He gave one last, powerful thrust. Liam screamed, losing all control. Say it. Caleb bit his earlobe, his voice a ragged whisper. Am I good now?